Yes, welcome to the Roundtable on OGTV. And happy Eid al-Maulid to our Muslim brothers and sisters from across the world. The Roundtable platform for engaging conversations on issues that affect our people, our state, our nation. And recently, the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, was in Ogun State. That was just last week, just a week, for the Southwest Zonal launch of the National Community Food Bank Program, a national intervention designed to support vulnerable Nigerians, particularly children, pregnant women, and lactating mothers and other vulnerable households. But the program comes against the backdrop of the serious food nutrition challenges. Yes, food and nutrition challenges confronting many Nigerian families. And, there are records of malnutrition, as the case may be. Importantly, this is not simply about distributing food. The program involves, yes, a structured supply chain with the Bank of Agriculture playing an important role in food bank supply and food management. This raising questions about sustainability, transparency, distribution, and ultimately the impact on the people. The program is designed to serve. So now that the launch has taken place, what should Nigerians expect from the program? How will beneficiaries be identified? And how will food get to, the supply chain get to most vulnerable households? What mechanisms are in place to prevent, kind of diversion, duplication, or political interference? And perhaps, most importantly, can food bank intervention provide a sustainable response to food insecurity? Or should it be viewed as immediate intervention while government addresses the deeper causes of hunger and poverty? These are some of the issues we shall be examining today on the Roundtable. And I'm pleased to welcome to the studio today Olotu, yes, he said it's Olotu, Dr. Dikpo Shofora. But I would like to go with Olotu Dikpo Shofora. I think it's a bit more traditional for me. Yes, the politician. Yes, on that note, that's where I will stay. Yeah, he's got a lot of distance to himself, but of course, I would like to refer to him as a politician. So I want to welcome in the studio today, Olotu Dikpo Shofora. Nice having you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning,
nice
sir.
to be here.
Yes,
good morning.
You are a development consultant. You have a lot to yourself, to your profile. But then I'll stick to politician because we have issues that has to do with, political matters this morning.
That's all right.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm also being joined via Zoom. Yes, our guest who couldn't make it to the studio. Unfortunately, she was coming from Lagos, but the traffic would not allow her to get here. And she will be joining us from where she is via Zoom. Join me as I also welcome in the studio, if the network permits, Mrs. Dayo Adeyinka is also a public affairs analyst, and she will also be looking at it from the women angle. Yes, this program, the visit of the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, affects directly the women folks, and she will be representing that constituency to talk to us today on the program. Yes, Madam Oludayo Adeyinka, I'm not sure the network will permit, but anytime she's available to join us, we'll also be introducing her on the program today. So that's why I am welcoming our viewers to today's program, where we shall be looking at analyzing or dissecting the visit of the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, for a launch of that special program that tends to, look at the deficiencies in the part of women and the, nursing mothers. So let me begin straight now with my guest in the studio. The First Lady has come and gone. The visit was well attended by prominent Nigerians. And, in the overall, she was able to kind of commission some landmark projects by the state government even during the visit, and this talking about Muhammadu Buhari Estate and the 250-bed hospital, the Gateway Hospital, where we'll be having, comprehensive health facility there. So now in the overall, let me look at let me ask you about the overall assessment of the Southwest launch of National Community Food Bank Program in Ogun State. What will you say?
Yeah, thank you very much, Presenter. Yeah, the First Lady's visit to Ogun State was really a very, very important and well-intended visit, which was it is there were three phases. I will use there were three phases. First was the commissioning of the National Food Bank at Shagamu, the Buhari Estate, and the Gateway Medical Center of Excellence. With these three projects, one can see that the government is doing a lot in terms of bringing policy to people. So it's not enough just to propose policies, but are these policies actually getting to reality with people? So that is the essence, the most visible thing that visit has done. So the food bank is supposed to provide an immediate succor for food deficiency and nutritional deficiency. And you see that these food banks are actually established in the community primary health centers, which are community based. So this gives it makes it to be nearer the people. It's not in one central warehouse in Abeokuta, where it will be difficult for somebody in Shagamu or from somebody in Ajebo to be able to access. So that's one of the advantages or the takeaway from that particular project itself. And you see, it's two-pronged, food and health in one place. So as the women come to the public health center for their it is antenatal, it is medical needs. At the same time, you also be able to be nutritionally, attended to. So that is one of the main aspects and the fallout and the impact of that particular visit.
Okay, when you look at the entire visit, when we were looking at it, it's as good as having August visitor in August, visit of the First Lady of the Federation to Ogun State. So, having host this Southwest Zonal launch where we have dignitaries from across the nation, we have Southwest Zonal, First ladies, a lot of people were in the stage, development partners and the likes. What does this mean to the state? How will you describe this, Ogun State having to host this and the intervention?
This has placed Ogun State in a very high position, because for Ogun State to have been selected out of the 36 states of the country as the pilot, it means a lot. It means that the federal government is actually thinks very high of Ogun State. That's why Ogun State has been chosen as a pilot for this project.
Okay, this, the National Community Food Bank Program, represents a deliberate effort of the federal government to actually make sure that policies of government touches down to the masses, it gets to the poor of the poorest masses, and it's particularly to vulnerable children, like I said, and it is not a way of maybe going there to distribute food, but making provision for the needed nutrition for pregnant mothers, the lactating mothers, and vulnerable. So when you look at this kind of program, what do you say to the effort of the federal government? There are policies, and let's look at implementation now. Some would be looking at it from political angle. Will it not have this more of political interference? Will it actually touch down on the expected, beneficiaries?
Yes, that is, you are on the right track for asking that question. You see, like I said earlier, for the food banks being domiciled in the primary health centers has given it one important leverage, that is community-based, and activities in that place, the community will be much aware and be able to own that particular project. That is one. Two, under the Renew Hope initiative, which gives grants to women. So when we are now talking of the food banks, it's not only providing the food, but also capital for the women to be able to lift them out of poverty. So that gives it the sustainability angle. And also because we have this type of project, it's just coming, it's a pilot, and that is why it has been done in such a way that the federal government has devolved it to the states to own. For the states to own. If it had been federal government supervising 36 or more than, it would be too cumbersome and complex. But now that it has been given to the state to monitor, it makes it less complex, the monitoring. So that will make it to be more sustainable and make it to be something that will be executed in the right direction. Furthermore, those people that are attended to, especially the New Hope initiative grants and so on, the names are published. So we'll be able to track the survey. So, but that doesn't mean that there are no other sustainability models that we need to build into it. You know, it's a pilot. So we'll continue looking at it and refining it to make it sustainable.
Yes, like you said, it's a pilot, and beyond the ceremony, you know, the First Lady was there, was here, and we have seen what she came to do, and we are aware of what the program intended to achieve. But beyond that, you know, ceremony, beyond the visit and all of that, do you see this program as an appropriate, you know, kind of appropriate response to current food insecurity challenges facing vulnerable Nigerians?
Well, there is no one single program that will solve everything overnight. No. So this particular program is targeted at those people and those segments of the populace. The most important thing is for this program to be able to satisfy that. But when you are talking of food security, you are expanding it into other areas, which other programs are already taking care of. But when you talk of food security, it's making food available, nutritious, affordable. And that means that means that we're now talking of agriculture, which the government, both federal and state, are also doing a lot of programs to make sure that we have food security in the country. Ogun State has particularly done a lot. There are some World Bank projects that have just finished. A lot of farmers were, you know, impacted, and we could see that there was increase in productivity, agricultural productivity, and food being available.
Okay, let's now digress a bit, you know, talking about the effort of the state government. You know, like I said earlier, we all know that our First Lady actually, you know, did some commissioning of some landmark projects. And when you look at the government of Prince Dakwa Abiodun, it's kind of a government that's showing a lot in terms of, okay, let me deliver on my, you know, electioneering campaign. Let me make sure that things are done. You know, I want to leave Ogun State better than I met it. And this government is judged to have been, you know, a government that built more housing in terms of housing development more than previous administrations. So the Muhammadu Buhari estate, some were saying that the government is looking at the elite to be the beneficiaries, and some are saying that, you know, everything has a political interference and all that. So looking at the achievement of Prince Dakwa Abiodun and that housing sector, in the area of housing sector, and that commissioning of the project, with the mindset of people believing that it may not be available for, you know, the people that will actually need to have access to it, what would be your response? And considering the fact that Prince Dakwa Abiodun has, you know, made it clear that he would leave Ogun State better than he met it. So you want to do an overall assessment, plus, you know, this landmark project commissioned by our First Lady when she was in Ogun State.
Yeah, like I said, government is responsible for both high, medium, and low. So there is the issue that a particular program is targeted at the elite. The elites are part of the people that the government is also supposed to take care of. So this particular housing estate that was commissioned, yes, definitely, is to, if you look at it, is to the elite, to the high level people. But then some that is be to the low income has already been done also.
Of course.
The Kobape is there, and some few others in some other areas of the state. So, well, critics must definitely find something to say. So what I want to say here is that the government has been able to take care across all the segments of people in the state. That's it.
Of course, you know, it's a good thing to be ready to serve the people, and it's another thing to ensure that what you are doing is actually targeted to people directly. It's directly, you know, impacting the people. And of course, we can say that the government of Prince Dakpo Abiodun is also considerate in this area, is making sure that when this is done for this set of people, this is also done for another set of, so nobody is left behind. So let's go back to the visit now and the launch of this food bank program. So Nigerians would want to judge the success, and when you look at it, what better way do you think, you know, what will happen in the future? And then how do you see the program itself, talking about the fact that we are targeting, you know, vulnerables? Yes, the program is targeted at the vulnerable. So what happens? How do we kind of measure, you know, the success? What happens to beneficiaries in months ahead? How do you look at it? Maybe we kind of futuristic. Let's also place it on, okay, what happens tomorrow if, you know, talking about sustainability now.
Yes. Well, we call it a pilot. So there are so many things that we will see as we go along. We will see some other things that we still need to build into it to make it more successful. But to see the impact and the success of such a program is when we now be able to now take it on a larger scale. It was done in Shagamu. The pilot was in Shagamu, commissioned by the First Lady. The future that I see of that is that this will now be replicated in other areas of the state. That's Shagamu in Ogun East, somewhere else in Ogun Central, somewhere else in Ogun West. That is the way I see the future of this particular program.
Okay, sir, Bank of Agriculture played a prominent role in this program. So let's now talk about this supply chain. You know, the Bank of Agriculture has an important role in this food bank supply chain and the food management structure. So why is this structure important? Why do we need to, you know, people are looking at, okay, fine, we have a Bank of Agriculture. Does this kind of going to bring, you know, farmers to, how do you think this will work? Let me put it this way.
Well, the Bank of Agriculture finances agricultural production. And in financing agricultural production, it's farmers that are the producers. So definitely, the farmers are very central to even the food bank we are talking about. How will the food get there? It has to be produced by the farmers. So that's the structure of the Bank of Agriculture, having aggregated farmers that are financed, and the product, you know, of taking to the food bank. That is that was for this particular program. For this particular program.
You know, we've had in the past, you know, let's talk about this Bank of Agriculture. We've had in the past where farmers would come out and say that they do not have access to, financing. They do not have access to all these financial institutions. Bank of Agriculture is not giving them, the loan as expected to talk about, okay, this is what we need to finance our farming business. And this, in a way, has caused a lot in terms of food insecurity in the country, because when you do not have money, the financial backends to do farming, then there's going to be a level of, the little or nothing that any farmer can do. So now, when you look at this financial institution coming in, are we not going to experience it? Because it's a food bank that is expected the supply chain to come through, they will finance the farmers, the produce, and all of these things will come. Then we will have the food bank fully, have the supply of all these products that will be needed, nutritious food and all of that. But now this, how do we safeguard, what we should put in place to ensure that, okay, at the end of the day, farmers are no longer complaining about, okay, what we have is not enough to produce for this food bank to survive.
Now, farmers will complain, but the fact is that when you are talking of agricultural financing, there are processes.
Is the access now? Okay. There are processes.
Even
sometimes the process becomes cumbersome.
For you to access agricultural finance, there are processes. There are things the farmers are expected to do.
This period, I think the Bank of Agriculture should make everything seamless.
Seamless in what terms? Just to give them?
No, not that.
Without putting some cautions.
You will not ask me to bring my maybe my great-grandfather's landed property or collateral from when I cannot get, or maybe somebody living in Abuja, a salary earner that is up to this as my surety before I can. It might be so cumbersome for anybody to access. No, so why not making it kind of...
That is not really it. You see, if I use that word, you're seamless. We're talking of what processes the farmers are supposed to, and that has worked. Because you are now delving into my area. I'm an agricultural economist, an extension worker. Now, farmers are supposed to form themselves into cooperatives and groups. I don't see any financial institution that have been having, and when we are talking of farmers here, we are talking of peasant farmers. We are not talking of giant, large-scale farmers. We are talking of farmers that maybe the loan they will access is not something more than 500, 100, 200,000, seasonal something. So the process is they form themselves into cooperatives or groups. They're aggregated. So the loan is accessed on the group by group. And the farmers in each group are supposed to guarantee each other so as to make sure that default is reduced to the minimum. Once this is done, but you find out that some of the farmers, majority of them may not align with such arrangements, because we have farmers association which are bigger ones, but in the local areas farmers are supposed to form themselves into groups and be able to access. Once they form themselves into groups and approach, and they can do what we call cross guarantee, I think they will be able to access this one. I'm not in Bank of Agriculture, but I know exactly what the project looks like.
All right, thank you. You see, in a program like this, there's always a place of Nigeria factor. Yeah. You know how corruption works in the country. And when you look at it, how can government ensure that food purchased or supplied through the program reaches the intended food banks and beneficiaries without leakages? You know what I mean? You know, when you are saying that, okay, I saw a video went viral yesterday about a member of House of Assembly, I think in Nasarawa. So the man gave a certain amount of money to the hospital. They were going to have 40 beds, fans, 50, he named, outlined the items they were supposed to purchase for the hospital, for what's it called. And on getting to the hospital for his own visit, he got there to realize that nothing was done. They only collected the money. No fan was purchased. No bed was given to the hospital. And he began to ask a question. So that's what I'm talking about here now, that, Nigerian factor is always in all of these things. So how do we ensure that beneficiaries actually get, or these designated food banks, the supplies get to where it should get to? Not that you are meant to take, let's say, millets now, for example, let's say grains, for example. You're meant to take it to this particular food bank, it may be bags of 20 bags, and at the end of the day we realized that maybe 5 bags at the end of the day was kind of supplied to those food banks. So how do we ensure that we get this done without all these leakages?
You see, you have said it yourself, human factor, and it's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. Government, the only thing government can do is to bring up these programs, put the processes there, put all the checks and balances. There is no way, the governor will not be the person to carry the food to the food bank. The government is not the person that will stand there and start issuing out food to people. So I think what we just need is we need orientation. Orientation. As it is now, everybody wants to cash in, wants to, let me use the word, want to
make money from
from anybody at any time. There was a time I wanted to buy an item. Luckily for me, my driver was the person that drove. The person came with the item, and I asked that how much. He said it's 4,000. Battery. He said 4,000.
Okay.
I was like 4,000. Then my driver shouted at 4,000. How can it be 4,000? She eventually gave us for 2,000. So it was because she saw me and felt that, oh, this is a big man. Let me make some money from her. That is the attitude. So what we only need is orientation. We need orientation. It's unfortunate. And the reason why we don't have most of these programs being effective is the people that we put there to execute. Some will even carry it, they take it to their houses instead of giving it to the people that are. So what I think we really need is strong orientation.
Okay, mindset change.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, if you're just joining us, it's still Roundtable on OGTV, and we're looking at the First Lady's visit, our own Mama Alakara, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who was in the state for one day visit, official visit, but a kind of historic visit to the people of Ogun State. Yes, we're analyzing all this visit, but we want to take this short break. When we come back, the program continues. Glad to have you back, and it's still Roundtable on OGTV, analyzing the visit of the First Lady to Ogun State is what we're looking at, and I've had with me in the studio, yes, Olotu Dikpo Shufora. We've been analyzing and looking at this program. Yes, you know, it was the launch of food bank program, the intervention that tends to touch on vulnerable Nigerians, you know, the women in particular, where this will take care of the level of nutrition that is expected to ensure a balanced life for pregnant women and, of course, lactating mothers. And what do we do? You know, this is a program, a policy of government that is actually targeted at, you know, the poor of the poorest masses. This is targeting the low people, people of you know, very low class who needed it most. But you know, we can have challenges in the programs like this, talking about corruption, talking about the people, like Olotu rightly mentioned. Our mindset also, we need to work on it. So, like I said before we went for that short break, Olotu, you know, when we're looking at the measures to be put in place by government to ensure that there are no leakages, people are not, you know, taking advantage of all of these things to their own personal benefit. So let's look at local farmers. What role do you think they can play, you know, the agricultural producers play in supplying the food banks? How do you think we can do it better? Because if it is from the center, you know, if it is kind of centralized for the food banks, maybe this is coming from the center, then somebody has to, there will be problem in between. There will be leakages. So how do we ensure that the local farmers in Ogun State are kind of employed to do the supplying?
No, definitely. The local farmers are very, very central to the success of this food bank. And I think what we need to really do here, from my own personal opinion and from professional angle, is that we need to identify and target particular farmers that we will empower to produce in order to supply the food banks. That structure must be there. We must identify some local farmers who will be the producers for the food bank.
Okay.
Because we cannot just throw it that anytime they will just be going to market.
Will you also look at this program as one big opportunity for, you know, our local farmers to create stronger markets for them, while also feeding,
definitely. It's an assured market for them.
Vulnerable households, yes.
It's an assured market for them. It's an assured market for them. Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you. Yes, you can be part of this program. The phone number will be on the screen for you to also make your contributions. In what way do you think this program is going to be of, you know, needed help for the society, especially the vulnerable households? So you can also be part of it, and we'll put the phone line very soon, shortly, on the screen for you to be part of it. Yes, going back to my question, you know, it's a big opportunity for our farmers, really, because when you look at it, it's great market while also feeding the vulnerable households. So is the community food bank a solution, like I said, to food insecurity primarily, or kind of emergency intervention, considering the fact that, you know, with the 2027 election approaching, some may even look at it from being political. So what will you say to this?
No, the food bank program is not an emergency thing. It's not a palliative. There is no crisis now. There is no crisis. So it's not emergency. It's an ongoing thing that is meant to be sustainable, to last for several years. So that is, it's not palliative.
Because, you know, some people may inevitably ask questions whether government's empowerment and food interventions have political implications.
Definitely.
So people would begin to look at it from that perspective. So how should Nigerians access this program when it is not... You can't take that away from people. They want to also feel like, okay, it's 2027 and the stage is kind of tensed and everybody's doing. So the government in power want to actually do this to get people to their side and kind of get people to vote the government again.
Well, it's unfortunate if some people think like that, but we cannot say because some people will think like that, not do what is right or what we feel is necessary for the people. This is not an intervention that came just because of politics. So people may think like that, but that is not the intention. This is sustainable. This is something that will continue even after the election. Even after election, it will still continue. So,
but if you look at it, sustainability is also key.
Yeah.
And when a government now bring about, we've seen cases, government is supposed to be continuum.
Yeah.
When a government leaves office, then another government should take it up from there. We've had, I think there was this food program, school feeding program by the previous administration. That lasted for just 4 years of the administration of past late President Muhammadu Buhari. This is a program that is expected to, still go on, and people, these pupils in school gets the feeding as expected. This is the government program. But are we not going to have the same thing after this administration? Is it not just going to be a program of maybe 8 years of the administration, then it ends there? Because this is a law-stable program that tends to solve problems. So if at the end of the day, this program is okay, this government is no longer there, we have another government, because whether you like it or not, another 4 years is coming, God willing, maybe our president is returned to become the president again in the next election. So at the end of the day, are we still going to have the program institutionalized in such a way that another government will take it up from there?
You see, it's unfortunate, quite unfortunate, that as much as government is supposed to be continual, some government will come, they will abandon what a previous government has done. But before I go on, let us give that to President Abiodun, the governor of Ogun State. He has demonstrated continuum in government, the continuity in government. Most of projects that he met that were done by his predecessors that were not completed, he has completed some of them. One is this gateway medical center.
Thank you for using some of them, even though the government has not been able to do all, but of course we can
Gateway Medical Center of Excellence that we are talking about.
Yeah, of course.
The Buhari Estate is another one like that. And the airport is another one like that. That is the way government is supposed to be. So it is maybe, like I said, that we should reorientate our people. Maybe we also have to reorientate our political class, especially aspirants into government houses. That maybe when they become governors, maybe they have to undergo a sort of orientation that it is very necessary. Some of these bridges in Ogun State that were started by the previous administration, President Abiodun's administration completed many of them. And that's what the populace is using now. I agree with you. It's supposed to be continual. That's the way government is supposed to be. And that's a good example that the governor, the present governor, has done, which is very, very commendable.
Okay. Yes, somebody is asking this question, is sent in a message, and what the person is talking about is, talking about the beneficiaries, selecting those who will be benefiting from the program. Is it not going to be based on their political affiliation? Because when you look at it, some sentiments will be there. If you're not an APC member, this is a program handled by APC government, and you're not an APC member, are you sure you're going to be selected as one of the beneficiaries of this program? Or it's a program that is open to Nigerians?
The program is open to all Nigerians. Nobody is asking that when you come to the full plan, you must come with your APC membership card now. So it's open to everybody, no discrimination.
Because I expected that people should be selected on the basis of their vulnerability,
of course,
rather than political what's it called, political relationship or political affiliation. So
Exactly.
that's the question.
Exactly, that is the idea. That's the idea. In answer to that question, that's the idea. It's not based on political affiliation in any way.
Okay, let's talk about monitoring now. You know, this is a program that needs adequate monitoring. The federal government or Excellency cannot come to Ogun State and say that I want to see how this project is faring. So should opposition parties or maybe civil society groups be allowed to benefit or participate in monitoring the program?
Opposition?
Yes, because you know, when you look at it, people would say that it's APC government, and people will start taking their cards. I'm APC member, because I'm APC member, I must benefit before a Labour Party member, I must benefit before NDC member. You know, these are things that we've seen happening.
The only thing that we can put into this program for such a thing is for government. Federal government is not going to come. That's why federal government has handed everything over to the state government. Is to put accountability. You can put accountability into it. And since these food banks are domiciled in the communities, you can form a sort of a committee in the community to oversee and monitor what goes on in this place. And also you can devolve it to either the Ministry of Agriculture or the Ministry of Community and Cooperative Development to be the overseer. But when you now say that maybe we put opposition, well, opposition, that means that you must have identified that this is opposition.
Do we have to go that route? Do we have to go that route of identifying people as opposition?
You are the person that said it.
No, I'm only asking. People are asking the question that is it possible for maybe people in the opposition
that
party,
is what
maybe
I've just said.
Because there are people. They are actually the people, and they are citizens of the country.
What we can only do is to make sure that non-politicians are part of the community committee that will oversee that thing. We cannot go ahead looking for, we are looking for one PDP member or one opposition member that deliberately they will not be part of that committee. How are we sure that they will not sabotage it? How can you put...
Exactly my question, because there will be issues there. So
yes, now.
The thing is, well, look at the program now. How do you see it in the next, you know, like I asked earlier, how do you see this program? Let's use a 5-year template. How do you see it in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, this is a program to have devolved into other states of the Federation, and in Ogun State, for it to have reached the other senatorial districts and even more communities, because it has one advantage. You know the advantage? It also creates avenue for our farmers to have market, to have off-taking of their produce. So the more food banks that we have, the more it improves the lives of even the farmers that are the producers.
Well, I won't believe that, fine, we have it in Ogun State, and Ogun State is the template we want to look at, and we need to also have at the back of our mind that before you can say this is a genuinely success or a successful program, we need to see or measure the number of individuals, the beneficiaries, and how it has benefited the people. So I need you to also look at it and react that, okay, fine, people are targeted, and when you begin to do your what's it called? Maybe you begin to do your mathematics on the effectiveness. Will you be targeting the households affected, or will you be looking at the number of foods available in the food banks?
I know. Well. When you are talking of impact, that's a different ball game. But for this type of a project, I think where we can just start from is that we know the quantity of food that are there. Then we know the beneficiaries that have been coming, and there will be accounts of all those ones. Okay? Then as we go ahead, we will now have to see what number of people have
That's
been
why. That's what I was going to say. Yes, will beneficiary list be made public?
Oh yes, it must be made public. If you give one bag to one salary, you must write it there that, okay, we have 100 bags of, let's say, gari in the food bank. Then as you issue it out, it must be recorded. So with that, we know the number of households or the number of people that have been able to benefit from that food bank.
Well, the food bank has been open, let's say it was launched a week ago now, and we do not have feedbacks so far. We do not know whether it has become, it's been in operation. We do not know whether people are actually having access to it, and it's something we should also think about. But when you look at it, you want to scope government, the intervention itself, the intention of the government to actually create this kind of intervention. So how do you score or rate the efforts of government? Let's say 1/10.
The effort of the government in creating...
Even though we are unable to see, we have not gotten feedbacks to see that, okay, these are people that have benefited, these are not list, or how the program is being ongoing, maybe has started or not. But when you look at the intervention on its entirety, so how do you score the
It has started, but we cannot score in 1 week.
Of course. But the entire program itself, how do you rate government 1/10?
It's a very noble idea. It's a very noble idea, and it is going to really, serve the purpose of providing food and nutrition to the less privileged. There are some people that are not able to feed their family in the real sense of it. So some of these, once this one is ongoing, it means that at least immediate succor will come to those people. So it's a very good idea.
So you give the government 5/10, 10/10? For the initiative, that's what I'm
initiative,
yes, for the initiative. Yes, for the initiative.
Because I'm a teacher, I can't give 100%.
Okay.
So I will give 85%.
Okay. So you are giving the government 7/10.
8/10.
8/10. Over 10. And that's a very good mark. That's an A mark.
Yes,
well, in its entirety, it's a good initiative. And
it's a good initiative.
We must commend the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, as we come to the end of today's edition of the program, I want you to just, your words to the people and, of course, the government.
Thank you very much. Viewers, the government has been able to bring up these programs. We just enjoin all of us to always cooperate with government, because we play a very key role in making sure that these programs are successful and effective. We are the government can only bring out the program. We are actually the people that will make sure that it is effective and it is sustainable. And by so doing, life will be better for all of us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, clearly the Southwest launch of the National Food Community Food Bank Program is more than a ceremony. Yeah. Its real significance will be determined by what happens after the launch. Yes. So for the vulnerable child who goes to bed hungry, the pregnant woman struggling to afford nutritious food, the lactating mother trying to feed herself and her baby, and the household facing rising food costs, the success of this program must ultimately be measured in the real lives and the real outcomes. So let us all come together to be involved, and then making sure that we are able, to contribute our own quota to ensure that the program actually succeeds. It is on that note that we'll come to the end of the program today, Roundtable on OGTV. Yes, I wish all our Muslim brothers and sisters happy celebration of Eid al-Maulid. today, and I want to say goodbye. So we'll meet again next week on Roundtable for another interesting topic. Be good and make sure that you are informed, and then you make your impact in your own society. Bye for now.